Hello YouTube, Dave here again. I hope everyone had a happy, healthy, and safe holiday season. And it's been a while since I've been putting out videos. I basically took almost the entire month of December off. I think I only released a couple of videos, but I just needed to sort of, I just needed a bit of a break, I guess. It was kind of reaching that point once again where I wasn't enjoying making the videos as much as I felt like I needed to make the videos, so I wanted to step back a little bit and just take some time off, enjoy spending time with family and friends, and not have to worry about putting stuff out. But we do have the new year, and I feel the urge to get back into doing these again. So I just want to thank everyone for sticking around and showing their understanding when I basically needed to take this little bit of a break. So this video is just going to be a fun little one, just showing off some of the pickups that I've made over the holiday season. Some of these were gifts, some of these were just things that I ended up purchasing myself, and a few of these were things that I ended up purchasing myself that we ended up using as gifts just to fill stuff out this year. But before I do that, I want to just take a moment to show one of my first pickups, and I actually got this like very shortly, I think, after the last pickup video, I think. My timelines are a little blurred, but this is the Dungeons & Dragons Infernal Tides comic book series. This is issue number 1, and actually one of the creators of this had sent me a digital copy, sort of a preview copy, to sort of discuss and do a video on. And I want to do that now. I did actually do a post about this just as a little thing that I did on my channel while I was taking the break, but I do have the physical comic now, so it'll be a little bit easier for me to do the video on it. For anyone who's not familiar, IDW has been doing these D&D related comics for quite a while now, actually. Several of their stories will actually also line up with the major events that are going on. So you had, and it brings back one of my favorite NPCs of all time. It brings back Minsk with his miniature gigantic space hamster Boo. And so the series started with like Evil in Baldur's Gate, I think was the name of it, which was taking place, I think, around the same time as like the Murder in Baldur's Gate storyline. But essentially it had, Minsk coming back and introduces the other characters in the party, whose names I keep forgetting, and I do apologize for that, but Minsk is just such an awesome character that he's the one that kind of sticks out the most in my mind. But they've also followed along with the Curse of Strahd storyline, the Storm King's Thunder storyline, and now they are getting into the Descent into Avernus storyline. And so this is, all these issues, or all these stories are usually 4 to 5 issues in length as well. So they're sort of shorter things that are easier to digest. They come out with trades later on. I actually have Shadows of the Vampire, which was the Curse of Strahd one. I actually have that as a trade, and they're really, really awesome. Just really, in my opinion, I just love these, and they get the characters done so well. Like, they just really capture, especially with Minsk and Boo, because they're the ones I like to focus on. But this one in particular is really cool because it introduces like the Descent to Avernus storyline idea. But I honestly like the way that they handle the characters, the main characters, sort of stumbling into the story better than the way that it's done in the actual adventure. I'm not going to spoil it here, but I think it is worth checking out. And these are all great comics. I love them to death. They are, again, they're not meant to be like this one long-term storyline sort of thing like you have with The Walking Dead or other, popular comics. These are all meant to be sort of more easily digestible and sort of have the ability to stand on their own, basically. So it's, again, one of the strengths that I find of it. The 4 or 5 issues, it tells, a very concise story, but I absolutely love them. And like I said, I had the preview copy sent to me, and I really enjoyed it, but I have the physical one here as well. So if you haven't checked any of these out yet, I do recommend it, and this will be sort of the first pickup that I'll discuss in this video. Since we're talking about Minsk and Boo, however, that's going to segue right into my second pickup, which is something that I've been trying to find in my local area since like it released back in September, I think it was, and that is the Dungeon Mayhem Battle for Baldur's Gate expansion. So this has two new characters that it adds. It has Minsk, of course, with Boo, and it introduces the the druid, Jaheira, or Jaheira. I think it's Jaheira. It's a fantasy name, so I'm sorry if I mispronounce it. But I actually got to play a few games of this over the holidays, and the two new characters have interesting abilities. So, for example, Minsk has a scouting ability, which allows him to draw the top card off of every other player's deck, and he gets to put them in his hand, which is pretty cool. But I think that's one of those ones that if you use it, that's all you do that turn. I don't think it gives you the ability to play another card. But it's still really cool to be able to do that. The Thief character from the base game also has the ability to draw from other people's decks, so it's not exactly unprecedented. He also has an ability, favorite enemy type of ability, where his attack cards will deal an extra point of damage that turn. So that one does let you play another card. So if you can stack the lightning bolt cards, so you can play multiple, if you can get the damage dealing ones, it can actually become pretty nasty. And he has an ability where all the players essentially swap life totals with the player on their left, I think. So if you're playing a big multiplayer game, it can kind of mix things up quite a bit. And the druid has some pretty cool abilities as well. So she has wild shape abilities. She can turn into a bear form or a wolf form. I'm going to do like a proper review, I think, of this at a later point with the full game, just sort of how this expansion interacts. But there is another expansion coming out, so I'm going to save it, I think, for all one massive video. But her wild shape can actually dictate what some of the cards do. So they'll have a symbol that has sort of like a multicolored animal track symbol. And if you're in bear form, any card with that symbol on it, you heal a point of damage. And if you're in wolf form, any card with that symbol on it deals a point of damage, which is actually kind of neat. And she has also like some ability lets her play a form card for free. And you can only have one form card out at a time. So if you have one out and you play a second one, it replaces the one that you already had. But it's actually really cool. And I remember when I was first showing these cards off, one of the players thought that the new characters felt like they were going to be really overpowered and broken, but they are still balanced really well, in my opinion. The new characters didn't just automatically win the games because they were there. I think they lost as many games as they won, sort of thing. So it's still a very, very balanced game, even with the expansion, which I think is really, really cool. So I was happy to pick this up. I've been looking for this for months, and just the stores in my area either didn't get it in, or they got it and it sold so quickly that like they never got a chance to even really post it on their social media pages that they had it. So I finally got my hands on this right before, it was on Christmas Eve actually, and we were down visiting my fiance's parents, and both of her brothers were there for a little bit. So I was actually able to play some big multiplayer games. My daughter loves this game as well, so she was involved in those as well. It's just a really, really awesome game, and it's got Minsk and Boo, and Minsk's cards are all hilarious. And there's some of his like catchphrases, like "Someone hold my rodent," "Squeaky wheel gets the kick." Just awesome stuff there. All right, one last. I'm not gonna say one. Not obviously not one last, but one next D&D related thing. This was actually a gift that was given to me by one of the players in my monthly D&D group that I've been running for at least a year now. I feel like it's been longer than that. But I guess, no, it's been about a year, maybe a year and a half. It started around the time that Tales from the Yawning Portal came out, I think. Anyway, he actually passed me this, and I was really appreciative, and unfortunately I just don't have the money to really be buying a lot of stuff for other people. But he basically said that running the games was enough. I've run like 3 different games that he's a part of, so... but what it is the Dungeons & Dragons Bestiary mini notebooks. So this is actually kind of a neat little idea. The biggest problem that I had with it, and the reason I didn't pick it up myself, was the price at $26 Canadian, which again, that's what we pay, plus depending on which store you get it at, it's either like 5% sales tax or 15% sales tax, because we have a federal and provincial that's blended into one, but some stores will only charge you the federal version, depending on what they are. It's usually like bookstore stuff. But this is actually a really kind of a neat little idea. And so what this is it's a collection of 6 different notebooks. And each of the notebooks is named after a different monster. So we have the Beholder, which is my favorite one, and actually sort of plays into another thing that I picked up, because I think this is actually Xanathar specifically that they're showing, which is really cool. So we got the Beholder, the Tarask, Displacer Beast, which again, I love all of these creatures so far, so we got those. Then we have the Gnoll, which is one of my favorite humanoids, monstrous humanoids. Of course, the classic Owlbear, the Lich, the Mind Flayer, and the Red Dragon. So a lot of awesome creatures here that they're showing, and yeah, I guess it's eight different little notebooks, and they're sort of broken up into two. There's 2 of each different type of category. So, for example, we have the Red Dragon and the Gnoll have graph paper in them, which is great if you want to sketch out like dungeons and stuff. So that's really useful for that there. So that's really cool. And then you have dotted ones, so dotted pages. Each one also has a little bit of information about the creature that it discusses, which is again kind of cool. So the dotted paper, I guess, is similar to graph paper. I've never used dotted paper in any sort of game preparation stuff before, so I guess this might be good for. I would probably use this for outdoor locations, so I could still keep an idea on the relative size. Without the lines necessarily getting in the way. But if you've used dotted paper, do you just use it for the same purpose as graph paper, or do you use it for other things? So kind of let me know that one, because I've never used dotted paper before in my life. And then so that's the Mind Flayer and the Beholder both have the dotted paper. And then we have the Lich and the Displacer Beast have your just good old-fashioned notebook paper. So this is your lined notebooks, which is cool. And then you have the Owlbear and the Tarask, which just give you blank pages altogether. So if you're artistic and you can actually sketch things out, that's really good for that. I am not. And the collector side of me will probably just keep this on my shelf as a really cool collectible. I don't know if I'm going to use the notebooks or not. And if I do, I know, for example, I'm definitely not using the Beholder one, the Mind Flayer one, the Red Dragon one, or the Owlbear one. So the other ones I might use if I need them, but it is a really cool thing. The price is just, again, the biggest issue for me, but if you can find it at a lower price, then it's definitely a cool little pickup, and I just want to thank my friend Andrew for giving this to me. That was really awesome. Alright, we're going to switch gears a little bit and talk about some of the Christmas gifts that I got, and then I'll just go back into sort of things that I picked up for myself. The first thing I want to show here is probably one of my favorite things that I got. This was actually a tree ornament that my sister picked up a few years ago, and then she forgot that she had it. I think she ended up, like, when she moved, it sort of got lost and some stuff, but she recently found it, and that is a tree ornament of The Undertaker. So, I'm a huge wrestling fan. The Undertaker is my favorite wrestler of all time, and this is just really awesome to have. And this is something that, if it's not going to be hung up on my tree, then it will be just on display standing in front of my wrestling DVDs, because I have a whole shelf full of those. So that was really awesome to get, so I want to thank my sister for that. I'm just going to lay that down so it doesn't get potentially knocked over. Alright, one of the big Christmas gifts that I ended up getting this year was the Collection of Mana game compilation for the Nintendo Switch. Our daughter got Pokemon Shield, so that was a game that she was really looking forward to. But this takes the 3 different games, including Final Fantasy Adventure, which was the precursor to the Legend or the Secret of Mana on the Super Nintendo. The Final Fantasy Adventure was a Game Boy game. Then you had Secret of Mana, which is on the Super Nintendo, and then you had Trials of Mana, which never came over to North America, but it is now available finally for North America on this compilation. I haven't gotten to try that one yet because I actually want to go through the games in order, and I'm currently playing through the Final Fantasy Adventure one now, which is a lot of fun, but it is incredibly cryptic. There are certain puzzle solutions that are not obvious. There are certain secret areas that you need to go to advance the game that are not necessarily explained at all. So one of the cool things about this compilation, though, is that you can do quick saves. So like you have these the Maddox, or they're kind of like pickaxes basically, that you can use to break open secret walls. But they are single-use items that you get like in a bunch of 7 at a time. So one of the good things where there's no indication of what might be a secret wall, or there is, but you don't really recognize it at first. You kind of start to see how they allude to it maybe later on, but at first it's not necessarily super obvious. So I like to, if I think that the room might have a secret exit, then I like to quick save, and then I can just use Maddox on all 4 walls, or all 3 of the walls that doesn't contain the way that I got into the room, to see if there's anything there. So it's a way to prevent you from wasting stuff. This game also, you can die pretty freaking easily, so the quick save feature is great for that as well. You can also save at any time, which is nice, but the quick save I found was a little bit handier. What's also cool about the Game Boy version especially is it has different like modes that you can play the game in. So it shows the black and white one here, which is sort of like the Game Boy Pocket, I think. It wasn't the Game Boy Color, but it was like I think it was the Game Boy Pocket that used the black and white screen. And there was a version of the Game Boy that did that. There's also a color variant that is as if you were using it on the Super Game Boy, which is kind of a cool accessory for the Super Nintendo that let you play Game Boy games on TV. But there's my favorite one, the one that I'm using, is a filter that looks like the dot matrix screen from the original Game Boy. And that's the one that I use, and it's super awesome. So this was something that I was really looking to get, and it was on sale for like the Black Friday stuff. So we actually ended up picking it up then. This is one of those gifts that I actually paid for myself, but allowed to be wrapped up as a present from like my daughter and fiance, just so that there was something under the tree, because this was a bit of a tighter Christmas, I think, overall. But really, really happy to have that and enjoying it so far. Also picked up a couple of DS games, so we're sticking with the video game stuff for now. So we were actually in Bridgewater, and their Shoppers Drug Mart has like video game stuff that they sell. It's one of the pharmacies in the Maritimes, if not all of Canada. I don't know how far-reaching it is, but they had this discount bin, and we actually found DS games in there for $10 each. And they're not your typical like Barbie games. I mean, they had one of those. They had some Lego games, but they also had 2 Pokemon games. They had Pokemon Y, and they had Pokemon Omega Ruby, which we gave our daughter. So that was in her Christmas. We put that in her Christmas sock because we actually waited until New Year's Eve to open those, which was her family's tradition, which was kind of neat to be able to do that. So we got this after Christmas, but before New Year's, so we were able to put those in. So we had the 2 Pokemon games for her, but we had Animal Crossing New Leaf, which I just decided to keep for myself, and because she already has this, and Mario Kart 7. So these were $10 each. Our receipts actually told us how much we saved. So I paid for one of the Pokemon games, Mario Kart and Animal Crossing. So yes, these were games that I ended up buying for myself. The only reason I put these in my sock is if I had shown these off before she got her Pokemon games, it just didn't feel right, so we decided to put them all as like Christmas gifts. But the 3 games that I bought, we ended up saving like $70 off of the retail price, which was really crazy. And my fiance saved on the 1 Pokemon game that she bought. She saved like $30, I think, on hers. So we saved like $100 just getting these games, which is really, really cool. Been loving Mario Kart 7. I haven't started this one yet. Waiting to get through my collection of Mana stuff before I get into that. Alright, one last thing. So these next few things were never intended as gifts. They were just things that I bought around the holiday season. The first one is actually a DVD. This is Resident Evil Vendetta. We got this at Walmart. It's only $4. I kind of wish I had waited until we got to Bridgewater for the holidays because they had the Blu-ray there at their store for only $1 more, but that's fine. This follows the CG movies, which I believe are all considered to be canonically relevant to the Resident Evil story. There was Degeneration, Damnation, and I believe this is the third and the most recent. I think there's only 3. But I absolutely love these movies. I think they're really, really well done. And I haven't seen this one yet, but I loved Degeneration and I loved Damnation, so I think this one's going to be great as well. And for $4, you're not going to go wrong there. Alright, so we're going to get back to some Dungeons & Dragons related stuff. I was at my local EB Games, and they are starting to get some more D&D related stuff in, which is really, really cool. They have some like wallets, which is okay. They have keychains, but they're keychains like this huge heavy metal D20, which just doesn't seem practical. But they had some cool little dice bags in, and I had to get this one. So this is the Xanathar Beholder dice bag. It's kind of hard to get it to maintain its shape, unfortunately, but I might stuff some like rolled up newspaper in there. I'm not going to use it as an actual dice bag because I'm worried about like the eye stalks and how they would handle moving around. But it's a Beholder dice bag and it's so cool. You also can't carry a whole lot of stuff in here. Like you can probably fit one set of dice in maybe, but like I said, I think I'm just going to ball up some newspaper to see if it helps it hold its shape. But this is still just super cool. It's got the eye stalks, it's got the big central eye, and the tag that actually says Xanathar on it, so I will probably keep the tag on there as well. But just really, really awesome, and love that. Up next, I have a couple of D&D minis, miniatures. These are from the Nolzar's Marvelous Miniature line, and these are little baby dragons. So they had a few of them in, and I picked up the 2 favorite ones that they had. So the first one I'm going to show off here is the Red Dragon Wormling. And it's got, like you can see, it's got the fire breath coming out, which is really, really cool. It comes with a little treasure hoard, which is also kind of neat. I do like that. And on the back you can sort of see like how they painted it, which is nowhere near as good as how I can paint it. So again, this is something I'll probably just keep sealed up until I get the opportunity to improve my painting skills to the point where I feel like I can go ahead and do it. But honestly, the treasure pile, as you can see, it looks like here, unless this is a CG mock-up, they painted like the individual coins, different colors and stuff like that. That's just a little bit too much, I think, for me. So this is something I'd probably just paint all gold. Maybe do a couple of silver pieces or something in there, but I still thought that was really, really cool to have the little baby red dragon. And then I had to get my favorite design, or favorite looking dragon of all time, and that is the Black Dragon Wormling, which seems to be actually bigger than the Red Dragon Wormling, even though I don't think that's the way it's supposed to be. But still really, really cool. This one comes with a pile of like bones, so it's got like 2 like leg bones and a skull that's been partially corroded. And if you look on the back, they kind of painted it like green to have like the acid on there, which I think is really, really cool. And the Black Dragon, again, just one of my favorite looking dragons. I love like the skeletal face, I love the curved horns, like the bony frill at the back of its head. I just love everything about the modern version of the Black Dragon. So when I saw this, I instantly had this in my hand. I was actually going to pick up a Drider instead of the Red Dragon Wormling, but I figured that I kind of would rather have had the dragon. So they also had the Green Dragon Wormling out, which I do want to get at some point. And my plan is to get all of the chromatic wormlings if they do all 5 of them, which I really hope that they do. So those will be the next ones that I think maybe it was a white dragon. I think maybe it was a white dragon. I can't remember which the third one was now. I think if it was the green, no, I don't think they had the green one, because if they had the green one, I would have picked that up. It was a blue. There we go. I think it was the blue dragon wormling, the black dragon, and red dragon. Because yeah, I like the white dragon a lot, and I love the green dragon, so I think I would have picked up either of those over the red dragon. But anyway, really, really happy to have those. And then the last pickup that I have here is the Starfinder Attack of the Swarm adventure number 1. So this is part 1 of 6. And this, depending on like finances and stuff, this might be the last adventure path that I collect for Starfinder for now. I do have all the previous ones, the Dead Suns Adventure Path, the Against the Aeon Throne, Signal of Screams, and the Dawn of Flame storyline. But it's kind of reached the point where I've got more stories than I can run. But I love the idea of the Swarm, and I really wanted to get this Adventure Path, so this is book 1. Over the next few months, I do plan on collecting the other ones. I think all the way up to like 4 or 5 is out now. But I just picked up the first one here, which again I was really happy to get, and I do hope to do an actual review on this. I actually want to go back and do reviews of the other paths, like an overview of like the entire story. Now that I have them all the adventures in those collected stories, so I will probably try to. That's one of my goals for this year, is to do the reviews of the Starfinder adventure paths, and sort of go from there. But I was really happy to, again, pick this up. It's actually been hard to find some of these adventure paths. They're not, again, I don't know if the stores are just not getting them, or if they're not staying on the shelf, or the reorders might be difficult to get, but really happy to finally have part 1 of the Attack of the Swarm in my collection. So, those were my pickups over the holiday season. So let me know in the comments below what kind of cool stuff did you end up getting over the holidays. Again, I want to thank everyone for their understanding and their patience when I just sort of needed to take a little bit of a breather and sort of try to recharge my battery, so to speak, and get back to the point where making videos was fun and exciting for me again. I do have a couple of videos coming up that I'm kind of interested or looking forward to. So I guess I'll just spoil that now at the end of this video. But again, thank you all again for your support and your understanding. It's good to be back. So the next video I'm going to be putting out in just a couple of days is a viewer question video that kind of deserves its own video, and that is my personal rankings of the different versions of Dungeons and Dragons throughout the last few decades. So that's going to be an interesting one to do. And probably closer to the end of the month, I'm probably going to start recording bits and pieces of it now, because I do have it broken down to separate categories. But I found some old questions, like just a huge list of questions that people had asked me when I had asked for questions in the past, and I think I'm just going to do sort of a Q&A style video, which goes over stuff like, you know, my interests outside of Dungeons and Dragons or role-playing games, a little bit about my life, other hobbies, like I said, as well as some gaming-related questions. So I'm looking forward to doing that as well. And it's just going to be nice to get back into making videos. I plan on going back and revisiting my Shackled City Adventure Path series to finish that off. And then I want to move into the Age of Worms and then hopefully Savage Tide from there as well. There's some overdue reviews that I've been trying to get done for a while now that I'm hoping to get done in the next month or so as well. So it feels good to be back. Thank you all for your patience, and again, let me know what cool stuff you ended up getting over the holidays as well. Thanks again. Your support means everything to me. I really do genuinely appreciate it, and I will see you next time. Take care.